Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. Night Caller. It started on the 1st of October, the sort of chill that crept under the skin and settled like a secret whispered in the ear. The Morgan family's old farmhouse sat on the edge of Hollow Creek, a place the locals said carried stories better left untold. But Emily Morgan, a single mother with 2 children, dismissed the town's superstitions as rusted echoes of forgotten fears. What she could not dismiss, however, was the strange phone calls that had started arriving every night, precisely at 2:06 a.m. At first, the calls were easy to ignore. A few seconds of static, the crackle of a line on the edge of failure, perhaps an automated disturbance from telemarketers gone digital. Then a whisper, barely audible, made its way through the noise, unsettling in its cadence, deliberately measured like a ghost recalling a name. No words, just a faint voice that sent shivers down Emily's spine. On the 8th night, Emily sat upright, clutching the receiver. The clock on her bedside table glowed 2:05 a.m. The house was pin-drop silent except for the rhythmic tick of the antique clock downstairs. And then, the phone rang. Static hissed through the receiver, the kind of noise that made your ears ache. And then, the whisper came, a breathy cadence that sounded almost like someone saying, "Don't," before dissolving back into white noise. Emily tried to speak but found only a dry, bone-chilling silence on the other end. The call ended abruptly when the line went dead. She shook her head and tried to laugh it off. "It's probably some kid messing around," she told her husband, David, who was visiting that weekend. But just as she reassured herself, unease took root deep. The next morning, Emily took the phone to the local telephone company, hoping for an explanation. They scanned their systems and found nothing unusual, no service interruptions or line faults. When she asked if anyone had called her number repetitively at odd hours, the technician's expression faltered. "No, ma'am. Our logs show no outgoing calls from your number during the night." That was when Emily felt the first niggling suspicion in her gut. These calls came from inside the house. The Morgan family's farmhouse was ancient, built in the mid-1800s. The walls held secrets, the floorboards creaked with ghost stories, and the years had layered it with a heaviness that couldn't be read in architecture books. Still, Emily had never believed in ghosts, until now. David suggested installing a voice-activated recorder to capture the call. They plugged the device into the landline and placed it out in the kitchen, the central hub of the house where the call usually came through on a vintage rotary phone inherited from Emily's grandmother. Night fell like a heavy curtain, plunging the farmhouse into an eerie darkness. Emily lay in bed, her phone and recorder on the bedside table. She watched the clock until it finally blinked 2:06 a.m. The phone in the kitchen rang once, twice. The static was louder than before, like an electrical storm battling through the wires. Then the whisper came again, clearer this time, slow and deliberate. "Help me?" The hairs on Emily's arms stood on end, a cold sweat breaking on her forehead. David rushed down from their room, heart pounding. She handed him the phone. "Did you hear it? It's a voice, not just random static this time." David pressed the playback button on the recorder. A crackling hiss filled the room, followed by a broken voice whispering, "Help me, danger's coming." Emily swallowed hard. She had no idea what dangers, or from whom. She prayed it wasn't someone lost or in danger near their isolated home. As the days passed, Emily tried to trace the source using an old-fashioned method, disconnecting the house's internal extension lines one by one, hoping to catch the call's origin. Nothing yielded any clues. The phone line came alive at the central unit like a ghostly heartbeat. Then, their daughter Lily started to change. The 11-year-old, usually bubbly and carefree, became withdrawn. Her eyes sometimes glazed over in the afternoon as if recalling nightmares. Emily asked once, trembling, Lily, is someone talking to you at night? The girl looked at her mother, fear swelling behind her sapphire eyes. A lady. She tells me to be quiet. She's scared. Just an innocent child's imagination? Emily hoped so. But then strange things began to happen during the day. Shadows in corners that blinked away when caught in the light, whispers in empty rooms, and the old grandfather clock chiming at odd hours. Always at 2:06 p.m. A mirrored echo of the nightly calls. Desperation clawed at Emily's nerves. She visited the town's historian, Mr. Tucker, hoping for answers about the house's past. I've heard stories, Mr. Tucker said, his voice low. Long ago, a woman named Annabelle Gray lived here with her family. One stormy night, she disappeared, never to be seen again. Some say she was taken, others that she fled. But her spirit is said to call from the shadows at the exact time of her disappearance, 2:06 a.m. Emily's breath caught. Do you think these calls could be from her? She asked, her voice a mixture of disbelief and hope. Possibly. If the times align, the whispers might be her voice, trapped between worlds, trying to reach help. Night fell again, and the Morgans braced themselves. This time, Emily left her phone recorder running while she sat with Lily, holding her close. When the clock blinked 2:06 a.m., the phone rang. This time, the whisper was clearer than ever, sorrowful and pleading. Find me. Emily's heart hammered. They had to uncover the truth. The next day, they explored the basement, the only untouched part of the house. The air was sour, tasting of forgotten time and dust. Amid the rubble and cobwebs, David's flashlight illuminated an old trapdoor hidden beneath a loose floorboard. It creaked loudly on hinges frozen in time. Beneath the trapdoor was a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. Emily forced herself down, careful not to disturb the fragile air. At the bottom, they found a small, sealed room, its walls lined with the faded remnants of forgotten wallpaper. In the corner, a small wooden box lay buried beneath debris. David pulled it out, and Emily carefully unlatched the rusted lock. Inside were yellowed letters, brittle photos, and a delicate locket. The letters chronicled the last days of Annabelle Gray, a woman trapped by her cruel husband, a man intolerant of her whispers for freedom. Her final letter was unfinished, hinting at a secret safe room in the basement, where she would hide from his wrath. Emily's hands trembled as she realized the truth. Annabelle had been imprisoned here, left to die in silence, her calls trapped in the static of time. The phone rang again that night at 2:06 a.m. but this time, the whisper was soft, relieved. Thank you? The static faded, replaced by a gentle silence. Lily smiled as if a heavy weight had lifted. Emily felt the house breathe anew, a lingering sorrow dispersed at last. From then on, the phone remained silent at night. The past had finally been heard, and laid to rest. For more stories like and subscribe.